So we will go now, move on the younger and more tender age, the children of the primary school. We will speak about the creative learning method for the elementary school children and for almost all the lesson and subject. Uh, what we want to do, make the long story short, creative learning wants to suggest to the teachers of elementary school a method. How can they use theater techniques to teach their lesson, almost all of them, in the classroom? Well, creative learning using theater and the art emphasizes in experiential learning, engaging students in active hands-on experiences to foster understanding. Second, emotional intelligence, developing empathy, self-expression, and social skills through role-playing and artistic exploration. Collaboration, third, encouraging teamwork and communication in group activities, fostering cooperation and problem solving. And fourth, critical thinking, using artistic interpretation to change students to think beyond the surface and explore deeper meaning. Well, indeed, I wish that this workshop of creative learning had been held before creative STEAM we mentioned 2 days ago, because these two methods are very related, and to be more specific, the principles of creative STEAM are based on creative learning. Anyway, let's continue. Well, educator in creative learning becomes more creative and inspirational. For the children, it will be like a game, as the lesson is shifted from have to read, have to write, have to learn by heart, to want to. We mentioned the same also to the creative STEM on last Monday. Play is essential from elementary school children as it fosters the cognitive, social, and emotional development. Game is learning. We have to understand it, and especially the parents. Through games, they practice problem-solving skills, enhance creativity, and develop teamwork. It also allows them to learn important concepts in an engaging way. Additionally, play supports motor skills and physical health. Ultimately, incorporated games into lesson helps children retain information and makes learning fun and also meaningful. Well, educational process as we know it relies mainly on books, textbooks, repetitions, and nowadays slides, internet, and everything. On the teacher's knowledge and the communication skills, of course, is based on a curriculum that centralizes on the abilities that the children must have in order to be useful and successful in the future. The utilization of theatrical techniques and the development of the structure methodology are integral components of creative learning. In addition, we incorporate both creative and functional components from many arts forms such as painting, music, dance, improvisation, etc. Primarily, the focus lies on components of theater, okay, since they encompass action and interaction with the collective social experience rather than an individual one, like to paint something or to dance, probably. But we are not at all interested in the theatrical performance being perfect. Please note it. Any role played to perfection, the improvisation are to be performed very well. Not at all. We are interested in the learning process. But art and all that comes with it means creativity, means imagination, means sensitivity. Art in elementary education plays a crucial role in fostering creativity, self-expression, and critical thinking in young students. It helps children develop fine motor skills and enhances their ability to observe and interpret the world around them. Through art, students learn to communicate ideas and emotions in a unique way, building confidence and cultural awareness. It also encourages problem solving and innovation, which are essential in other academic areas. Integrating art into education makes learning more engaging and holistic, nurturing well-rounded development. Well, the creative learning process as a mission of teaching of the curriculum brings back the actual dimension and the real purpose of education. We want to move away from sterile, repetitive learning towards more human, experiential situation that gives life to the trapped in the books knowledge. Creative learning sees the process of learning as a process for change. The emotional and intellectual changes leads to maturity and therefore to knowledge. The aim of creative learning, one by one. Aim number one, to make school an attractive place where teachers and students would invest their energy and dreams. Aim number two, to connect knowledge with a pleasure so that the students will learn to love learning. Aim number three, to encourage teachers to reevaluate their part in the learning process. Creative learning transforms education into a journey of discovery where curiosity leads to the joy of understanding. The pleasure of learning is magnified when creativity turns knowledge into a living, breathing experience. Aim number four, to build a new kind of teacher and student relationship in the classroom. Aim number five, to help students explore their talents and inclinations by encouraging experimentation and self-expression. Creative learning empowers students to identify their strength and passion, to develop social values, encouraging communication, companionship, and cooperation. And aim number seven, to make the school community a field of creative interaction where personal and collective evolution will be equally promoted. We could list as many other goals that are achieved by introducing art into the learning process. It would be very difficult for me to imagine, for example, bullying and diversity phenomena, student racism in the classroom, where children are involved in collaborative processes, playing together, helping each other, complementing each other, and many more. Well, if we want to have a block diagram, you can see this, that the creative function mobilize and activates first the thought and brain, the feeling and the sentiment, the senses, imagination and self-expression, instinct and intuition. Creative learning mobilizes and activates several other key sectors for students during the education process. Cognitive development, for example, enhances critical thinking, problem solving, and innovation by encouraging students to approach challenges from multiple perspectives. Emotional intelligence fosters self-awareness, empathy, and emotional expression, helping students manage their emotion and develop interpersonal skills. Social skills encourages collaboration, communication, and teamwork, allowing students to engage with peers in meaningful way. Cultural awareness exposes students to diverse ideas and perspectives, promoting cultural understanding and global citizenship. Finally, technical and artistic skills cultivates both technical proficiency and artistic creativity, allowing students to develop practical and expressive capabilities. Motivation and engagement increases student motivation and engagement by making learning more enjoyable and relevant, leading to a deeper investment in their education. Well, the utilization of theatrical techniques and the development of the structure methodology are integral components of creative learning. In addition, we incorporate both creative and functional components from many art forms, such as painting, music, dance, improvisation, role-playing, and other theater techniques. Primarily, the focus, as I mentioned before, lies on components of theater, since they encompass action and interaction within the collective social experience rather than an individual one. So what does theater and art offer us that we can use partially or in total? Or if you like, we should not avoid it. So the main element of drama is that it has a human context, a drama context, role and characters, heroes, energy and interest, focus in the purposes we want, imaginative place, a time, something that starts somehow and ends somehow after a while. A methexis, Aristotle said too many things about that. Language, movement, symbols, and a mood to another era, to another place. So, in a few words, the method must be able to answer to the teacher questions, what I have to do. First, using your imagination, imagine the course like an images. More or less, it is similar to a film production, if you want. It is made up of individual stationary visual elements called frames. Create on a simple piece of paper or to your mind, if you want, a basic, just I can say, storyboard by illustrating a visual representation for each segment of the lesson. This is a drive. By using this approach, you will be able to maintain a systematic arrangement of the content of the lesson and have an easily accessible guide. Second, methodically gather all the materials you need. A few simple and everyday materials that we can find in our home everywhere. Measuring paper, A4 paper, paints, colors, a basket or a box to put all this inside, a piece of cloth probably, big or small, a piece of thin rope. Randomly I mention all this, can be very useful. If the teacher does some creative learning lesson, after a while he will get objects that he will use many times in a different way, and so he will need less and less materials, because the teacher will have it from previous lessons. Of course, a relationship can be developed with the students and parents so that he can have their help in this point, and they can bring some of them from their houses. This is a kind of participation of the students and parents. Why not? Third, in the classroom, by making a prologue, capture the imagination of children, making a simple scenario, a narrative, like a film, as I mentioned before. I invite you to remember, if you attended the Creative STEAM workshop 3 days before, what we mentioned about if. You can use it for sure again. What if? By encouraging students to ask what if and explore new possibilities. Teachers open doors to the creativity, inviting students to imagine beyond the ordinary things that we have to do in the lesson, around the classroom, with other students and everything. Fourth, who are the heroes of the story? Clearly defines, let's say, heroes, the personages, allow students to connect emotionally with the story, making the learning experience more engaging and relatable. Identifying the personages help to establish the narrative, providing a clear focus and direction for the learning objectives and guiding students through the material. When I say heroes, it's not necessarily one of the students, but a group of them, all of them. Also, the fifth, to personalize these heroes. The numbers, the chemical elements, etc., can take human form for the sake of the lesson. Indeed, heroes are not only a mythical hero, somebody from the films, but also a chemical element, which can take a human form for the sake of the lesson, or the numbers, subjects, a fruit, for example, or an animal, or a condition, the heat, the cold, etc., etc. 6, define the relationship that the heroes have been them so as to specify the plot. What are they seeking for, the heroes? What are they claiming? What are they afraid of? What are they avoiding? How they are related to each other in order to have a conflict, a dramatic conflict during the lesson. 7, simple, let's find the simple myth or story, a story where the heroes can live, can be a protagonist, can develop their relation, they can talk each other and make relationships and so on. 8, devise, or you can do that, devise or borrow from other sources an exciting space, from tales, from plays, mythology, thrills, or from a poem. Fairy tales and myths use symbolism and archetypes, allowing students to explore complex ideas and more lessons in a simplified, imaginative context. These stories often reflect cultural values and traditions, helping students gain to deeper understand of different societies and worldviews. Also, students can exercise their creativity, develop their storytelling skills, and explore new perspectives by reimagining or retelling already known stories. 9th, formulate the simple scenario you made in the beginning into action implemented by you and the students. Briefly, specify the main successive phases, of which the action must pass to reach the desired result. And 10, after the peak, end the story quickly. From the peak, crescendo, we used to say in theater, to the end. Our adventure should be plain and simple. Keep for the finale a small surprise and overthrow. Surprise, for example, a guest appearance. A character become from the lesson, a puppet, or maybe yourself, why not, in a costume or with a mask, to make a surprise appearance and interact with the student, answering questions or giving them a special message. We have to remember that we have to do with young children, students, who everything for them are game. The game is learning for children. I repeat it again and again. So the question is very natural right now. Does the clear came to overthrow everything we know so far about education and teaching, for how the knowledge passes from teacher to student? Not at all. Creative learning methods take advantage from the previous experience. Follow the experience of traditional training. At the end of each creative lesson, the teacher and her student return to the board, to the course, and complete the lesson with explanation, question and answer, description, and so on. Discuss and get the conclusion of the lesson, but now the children have awakened their imagination, have experienced the lesson, became part of their adventure, and they understand it. Creative learning builds upon or interacts with traditional teaching and learning methods. How creative learning builds on traditional teaching. Traditional teaching, for example, the methods often focus on building a strong foundation of knowledge through direct instruction and repetition. Creative learning take advantage of this foundation by encouraging the students to apply, to expand, and innovate upon what they have already learned. Traditional education typically emphasizes the structure, the discipline, and routine, which are important for developing good study habits and the solid work ethics. But the creative learning leverages these skills, encouraging students to use them in more flexible and imaginative ways, such as through project-based learning, where they can take ownership of their learning process. Traditional teaching often introduce students to basic analytical skill and problem-solving techniques. Here, we need and involve integrating arts, technology, or collaborative projects where students can explore and express their understanding creatively. Now, the teacher is as a guide. In traditional learning, teachers are often seen as a primary source of knowledge. In creative learning, the teacher's role changes to what a guide or a facilitator, helping students to explore their interests and discover their own solutions while still building on the basic knowledge provided by traditional methods. Let's see a case study. I take randomly from the Greek curriculum a lesson which is expansion and contraction. Is from the 5th grade physics. Let's see what the official book mentioned about the expansion and the contraction. I can do this. I don't know if you can. Sorry.
Vale. Farem grups impulsors. A l'hora hi ha grups impulsors. Després d'això...
Please, can you close your microphone, please?
Nicolas, I just closed the microphone of that person. I can do it from here, so it's okay. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Carol, help me. Can you see now some Greek text or not?
Yes, it's okay. Yeah.
It's okay?
Yeah.
And I roll down. You can see that?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So the lesson of expansion and contraction is absolutely, for the Greek curriculum, is right here. And I just make a very quickly translation for you. So the Greek book says that when heat is applied to solid body, the velocities of its molecule increases. The temperature increases and the molecules move further and further away from their permanent position. This also result is an increase in the dimension of the body. This increase is called expansion. Second, conversely, when a solid body gives off heat, the velocities of its molecule decrease. Its temperature drops and the distances between the molecules decrease. This result is a reduction in the body's dimension. This reduction is called contraction. Similar to this for solid is the explanation of the, expansion and contraction for liquids and gases. Now let's go to the creative learning. Materials for the lesson. We need a CD player. CD with sounds, a strong wind for winter, and cicadas. Cicada is an insect, as you can see to the image. And you can find these sounds, too many in the internet. I just mentioned 3 of them. Also, we will use chalks, blue and red, and the teacher bell. The teacher bell is a tool. We will need it in every lesson in order to start, to stop, to change, to correct the activity. More or less, the materials for this lesson is this. So, layout of the classroom. The classroom adapts in such a way so as to have enough space for action. First phase. The teacher makes a prologue to the children about solids, explaining that solid matter consists of very small particles called molecules. He goes on to explain that in action, and each student will play the role of a molecule of some solid matter. Second, the teacher and the student discuss about the climate condition, temperature changes, hot, cold, winter, summer, and so on, and the sense of they create. Phase number 2. The teacher introduces the condition that it is summer. So the cicadas on the CD players, we can hear all this sound. Teacher bells rings once and the action starts. The children, encouraged by the teacher, pretend that are feeling hot and are moving about the class, making air with papers or their writing books. They can state with every way, they can imagine that they feel hot, moving away from each other for more fresh air, near to the windows, etc. Teacher bell again, action freezes. The teacher or one of the students make a circle on the floor with the red chalk. A perimeter, circle, square, or a random form that includes all the team of students. It will be a quite big form, as it has to include all the children that are walk freely all around here and there to the space, pretending that they are molecules. So phase number 3. Now the teacher announced that the condition is that it is winter and it is cold. The CD changes and we hear now the sound of freezing winter wind. The teacher bells rings again. The children, encouraging by the teacher with their body movement, start expressing that they are cold and are moving together in the center, near to each other to warm up. The bell rings again and action freezes once more. The circle form in drawn or on the floor with the blue chalk to include all the students. That is much smaller now than the one before because the students are very close to each other. The teacher explains that this is what correspondingly happens to the solid matter according to the temperature. The bell rings again and the children are encouraged to repeat the action and movement, passing from the cold to hot and from the smaller form space, the circle, down there with the chalk, to the larger. In the end, all stand outside of two forms and compare the red circle and the blue one, asserting that when we are cold, we occupy less space, as opposed to heat that we occupy more space. Phase number 4, children return to their desks. The teacher teaches this particular chapter of expansion and contraction according to what is presented in the book. Whenever needed, the teacher relates the previous action of the children with the phenomenon noticed in solid. So Clear seeks to make the school a place of creativity and inspiration. The teacher to become an enlightened guide, children to be just classmates but partners, the must to be want. So the creative learning is based on certain conditions that are clear and accepted by all, children and teachers. It is a discipline activity, although it seems free and open. Children self-determination is necessary on the one hand, but it must be challenged in ways that complete it and serve the subject matter we are considering and teaching. And that is why rules are necessary. The basic rule is discipline in the teacher's guidance. The teacher must always have the final say, although sometimes the teacher does not need to enforce it because the activity is going well. However, if we want creative learning method to produce the result we expect, there must always be the possibility to stopping the action and correcting the direction it has taken. Return to the objectives of the lesson. The teacher must be able to talk, to correct, reposition the person, and this is happened with the bell rings. It is natural in the first attempt that there are points to be checked. However, the constant interaction with the method, the knowledge of individual elements creates a different perspective towards the classroom, the lesson, the material, and the relationship in the classroom. This other perspective is established and make the classroom have another link, a synchronization both in the communication between its members and in the effectiveness of the lesson. This site you can see in your screen is at your service for the philosophy and the theory of the method, as well as for hundreds of case studies on many lessons of the primary school. creativitylearning.eu. And you can go there and find too many case studies, even it is similar to your curriculum. I'm speaking not for the teachers, the Greek teachers, but also from other friends that we have with us. And you can see the structure of each case study in order to follow it to your subjects. Thank you very much for your patience.